Hey, everybody, it is Tony George alongside my buddy Doug Upstone. Took a break from all the spring training fields down there to come sit down with us and talk a little bit about the kind of a golf tournament going on this week. Doug, I know you got the shirt on. I got the hat. The Masters, and of course, Doug, all the big news, everything surrounding Augusta this week so far has been the status of Tiger Woods. And of course, his press conference this morning, I saw on the Golf Channel, he is going to play. I think it was probably the worst kept secret in America when it comes to any sport, Doug. But nonetheless, a tradition like none other continues in Augusta, Georgia this week. And some rain today, Doug, might soften up the greens a little bit. And it looks like it's going to be a cold Saturday, but and a 20% chance of rain on Thursday, which is typical this time of year down in Georgia. But nonetheless, looks like the course is ready to go.
Yeah, it does change how you from what we do from a betting standpoint, though. You have to address it differently than you normally would, because like I said, the course is going to be soft on Thursday and Friday for sure. Okay, that's going to be a given, because I believe well, in fact, I have a friend that was there this morning, and it was raining, and he said they finally kicked him off and everybody off the course because the rain was coming in sideways on Tuesday. So
Right.
not a good deal from that standpoint. But so, I mean, with that much rain, because they're talking an inch or two, the last I heard today, and so that's going to really soften it up. So that'll change the dynamics. Then the other part that's going to come in, and you mentioned about it being colder on Saturday, Tony, is then Friday at some point, whatever point of the day, it's going to get windy, and it's going to be quite windy, particularly from what I understand, Friday and Saturday, and to a lesser degree on Sunday. So it's going to be completely different type of tournament than just looking at certain guys and looking at certain numbers and stuff like that. And there's going to be other things I think you have to consider, and some guys you're going to have to toss that you might think would be in there otherwise.
Yeah. I always think that, and this is good news for the hottest player on the planet, Scotty Scheffler. He's a Texas boy. He's used to playing in that Texas wind.
Yep.
That's where he lives now, and of course, Jordan Spieth on the map again. Had a decent round to end the Texas Open. There's a lot of players this year coming into play, Doug. I've looked at one I looked at and studied closely. I wanted to get, so I'm just going to bounce these off of you. I'm sure you've got some leads and stuff, but you follow this as closely as I do, if not more so. But John Rahm, the last 4 years in here, fifth, seventh, ninth, and fourth. That's quite a resume. He lost his world number one ranking to Scotty Sheffler, who's just, won he won Phoenix down there where you live, Waste Management. He won Arnie's tournament at Bay Hill, which those greens there were a little bit comparable to the Masters this week. They were nearly impossible to hold the ball. You had to get it on the right side of the pin. Hitting greens is one thing here at Augusta, but being in the right spot on those greens is everything. Maybe these wet conditions change that. I'm not for sure but that's still probably going to hold true, especially on Saturday and Sunday. But John Rahm, top 10 at plus 225, in my mind, was a little bit of a gift. Now that line's going to be dropping. I thought your thoughts on John Rahm. His game quite hasn't been there this year. It hasn't been horrible, but it hasn't been up to the number one player in the world standard. And I don't know what's going on with him, but I'm sure he'll be in the hunt this week.
Yeah, I think Rom will be fine this week, and I wouldn't necessarily take him to win, and I'm not even sure with what you're saying. I'm not even sure with a top five, but a top 10 seems to offer some value. I would agree, and his problem all year has been putting. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been, like you said, not great necessarily tee to green, but his putting, he keeps losing strokes, strokes gained, or losing the regression part of that element. And so that's where his problem is. Now, if the greens, though, are slower, Okay, and some of the because of the wetness of the conditions, takes some of the contour out a little bit. Well, I would think that would only enhance his ability to putt better and maybe gain
Yeah.
some confidence, going into the latter stages of the weekend. Because as we know, Tony, it always comes down to Sunday on the back nine
Yeah.
at the Masters. So it's remarkable. But yeah, I agree with your pick on Rahm. I think he's got some good possibilities, and to win. I can't say I put him there either, but yeah, top 10 definitely.
Well, this course is all about, length and power, and then you got to throw in precision ball striking, putting. There's a lot of courses that you and I, we do these shows sporadically during the golf season. You and I both handicap these. I do daily head-to-heads. You do more of the overall tournament stuff. Your stuff's out on Wednesday over at DocSports.com. But certain courses fit certain players because of their technical ability, their skill set. And certain skill sets you could flourish on certain golf courses.
Yep.
At Augusta, you have to have a lot of stuff that you do very well. Putting, game around the greens, drive. I've been down to this course twice to the tournament, 2008 and 2013. Those years, Mickelson won in 2004. I was there when Mickelson won in 2013 when Adam Scott won. And there's a guy I wanted to bring up. He's playing a little better golf this year. He's got all the tools available. The thing that worries me about Rahm getting inside the top, 5, if you look at the stats on him every week as the tournament goes along, and each day I will go in and handicap who gained strokes on the field off the tee, shots gained on approach, shots gained putting. Jon Rahm all year, as the tournament goes along, is losing anywhere from 1.8 to 2.9 to I've seen him as high as 3.7 strokes to the field lost on the green putting during the tournament. And the number one player in the world, you cannot bank on that in a tournament like this, where, the bikini wax greens, the Gary McCord comment, are going to be in play. Maybe not so much on Thursday and Friday with the softness. Will take away some of the speed. These things are 13 plus on the stent meter. 3 foot, 2 foot putts cannot be taken lightly on this here. But Adam Scott, has one of those complete games, one of the sweetest swings in the game, absolute precision ball striker. Been there, done it, bought the T-shirt factory. He's won this thing. He's won on big time courses. And I think he's a guy, at least in my mind, that I know he's been on some people's conversations, Doug, but I consider him a sleeper this week.
Yeah, his track record, let's put it this way. He's earned the respect to be able to be always listed, among the contenders, because he's always played well here. Like you said, he's done well in terms of playing in bigger events. Now, he hasn't done as well more recently, and let's face it, he's in his 40s now. Okay.
Yep.
And not to say he can't win in his 40s, but he is. Yeah. But the one of the things that comes up at the Masters is experience. Now, it's not the end all to be all. The most experience of players that don't win every year. But if you combine experience along with talent, then you have an opportunity. I forget how many I read today, and just something I honestly just forgot, how many or how often those players that are in the top 30 in the standings for the season, how often they have won this event. It's a pretty high number, from that standpoint. So that's another key component, I think, in looking at this. In terms of the golf course itself, Tony, this, like I say, experience counts. You have to be able to get off the tee, but you also have to be able to be accurate off the tee. You mentioned about being able to hit your irons into the right side of the green, because greens in regulation, for whatever reason, the way this course is set up for the Masters, it's seldom in the center. It's
Right.
always seemingly to one side or the other. So you could be on the green in regulation and have a 60-foot putt having to go through a couple of different contours in order to even get it to the hole. So 3 putts can easily pop up on this course. So I think that's an important part is you have to understand that is to be on the right side. Now, but the other thing is talk about long hitters. You have guys like Zach Johnson in 2007. He won.
Yeah.
Trevor Emmelman the following year. Charles Schwartzel, 2011. None of those guys are long, but what did they
Yeah.
do to win? They were able to get off the tee well enough. They hit just stiff irons all 4 days, and they dominated the par fives. Now they dominated the par fives by being accurate, not necessarily by being long.
Right. And Danny Willett comes to mind too. That
Yep,
he's
there's
not a
another
big
one.
long player, and this is a course like a Louis Oosthuizen, who has got so many runner-ups in different majors. He's got a major. Uh, great, great all-around golfer. He didn't do very well down in Austin in the World Match Play, which kind of surprised me a little bit. He usually does pretty good down there. Matter of fact, he's teeing off with Tiger Woods on Thursday. Him and Joaquin Neiman, who won the Genesis Open this year in LA. Great starting group there, like 10:30 in the morning Eastern on Thursday. But uh, the one thing when you're handicapping this, you hit the nail on the head. You don't want to look at greens and regulation. You want to look at the statistic when you're doing daily heads is shot gains on approach. Not only are they hitting greens, but they're hitting greens in the right spot. They're leaving themselves below the hole. They're getting it within 10 or 12 feet where they can make a lot of putts. Those players that do a lot of shots gained on approach, and nobody better this year than doing it than Scotty Sheffler. He's a hot hand, Doug. Your thoughts on him coming into this tournament? Is he a legitimate top 10 contender here? And the reason I ask you this is he's been here before, but didn't have a lot of experience here. There's other guys that have a lot of experience, younger golfers, like a Cameron Smith who won, who I'm high on this week. That's been here 6 times, and I was looking at his. He got 10th last year. He got second to DJ. The year DJ won it, the COVID year without the fans there. He's been here 6 times. Let's see. He's placed in the top 27 out of the last 9 tournaments. He won the Players. But 2 of the hotter players in my mind are Scheffler and Cameron Smith here. I want your thoughts on both those real quick.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Smith, I think absolutely you have to consider. I mean, like I said, he's had the track record of success here. He's certainly long, and then he's won, and that's the other. He's won, other tournaments, and to like the Players, coming, winning that one most recently in some very difficult conditions, especially a couple of those days. So he has, I think, what it takes, and I think that if you're making, whether it be what I do, either top 10s, top 20s, or maybe even a top 5. I have not made my picks yet, but I mean, certainly he's in there among them as somebody I'm looking to consider. I like where his game's at. And now, to your point on Scheffler, I guess one person that I think of, he had other opportunities to win before this year. He just didn't quite get it done. But now his confidence is soaring, okay, with how he's been playing. And it reminds me, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same year, but in the other years when Jordan Spieth, who also has always played very well here, I believe the year he won, he got hot early, very much like Scheffler, and he came in and took care of business to get his first green jacket. And I can see a lot of correlation there in terms of the getting the monkey off your back in Scheffler's case of winning. And now I think his confidence is just supreme. And as you said, he's used to playing in the wind. I think he's a real win candidate. Now I don't like to put out win bets at golf. I think it's just way too hard to do, and it's just a crapshoot. But in terms of some other bets and even some head-to-heads against the right guys, I like him a lot.
Yeah, and this I think Cameron Smith's got the game for this course too. He grew up in Australia, played in a lot of wind. If that's going to be the case here, A lot of extreme conditions down there, what he did, if the players, the one thing, his mental game is really good, and his putting is really good. I think he is. If I was going to have to pick a top 5 out of the field today, it's only Tuesday we're taping this, so I got a couple of days here to get ready for my head-to-heads. But he definitely would be in one of my candidates for a top 5 in this tournament. The way just his all-around game right now, coming off the Players, which is basically the 5th major, which is more of a strategic golf course to get around on. It's different than the Masters, but it's still, I've played that course. I've only walked Augusta, obviously. I'll never play it. But at the end of the day here, I think he's one of the guys you really got to consider if you're looking at top 5s. I think he's going to be a contender right out of the gate.
Yeah, I would agree. Now I'll ask you something here. Now I'll offer my opinion. You can let me know if you agree or disagree. I talked to Raphael, who are also a handicapper at Docs, and he said he'd put up one of these for me, with his prop bets and everything he likes to do. We were talking about the Masters, and I said, one person I absolutely do not like, who's in the top 12 or maybe even the top 10 odds to win, is Rory Mcilroy.
Yeah.
And besides the fact that he hasn't played that well, last week by choice, he went to play at the Texas Open because he just wasn't comfortable with where his game was. And this is him talking, not me talking. And what does he do? He misses the cut last week.
Yeah.
And that, to me, maybe he'll play really well, but to me, that's a real red flag. He has not played well his last two times he's been at Augusta. I think this guy is a strong candidate to not make the cut, or if he does, I don't think you can even make a top 40 bet on him right now.
No, I agree. I was shocked to see because, last week, a lot of the big name players took the week off in preparation for the Masters. So this wasn't a star-studded field. I mean, J.J. Spawn won the tournament. I mean, if that was a star-studded field, J.J. Spawn would have not won that tournament. But he earned it. He beat Gary Woodland was up there and a couple other really good sticks. It's not like anybody that's the 150 guys that show up to play each week in a tour event are friggin' studs. I mean, they're big time sticks. I mean, big time. Don't get me wrong. Anybody, it's like the NBA any night. Everybody playing an NBA uniform. I don't care if they're 8th on the bench for Sacramento, they can frickin' ball. Have no illusions. They're ballers. These guys that are playing on this tour can do stuff with a golf ball and move it around and make shots that would just amaze the average hacker. But I was surprised to see him miss the cut last week. He got a little spotlight on him in the Arnold Palmer tournament down at Bay Hill. McIlroy did early. I think he was one of the first round leaders, Doug. And then he just absolutely dumped all over the place. Especially on Saturday, he played just a horrible round. He has trouble with his flat stick outside of 8 feet. He misses a lot of short putts. He misses long putts. He leaves himself 25, 30-foot shots when he's got a wedge or a 9-iron in his hand. You just can't do that. You're not going to find even Tiger Woods doing that this week. I agree with you. I think Rory McIlroy is a fade. And he just doesn't have his game together right now for whatever reason. I agree with you. The one person I guess I wanted to talk about, we missed in our duties. If we don't, we can get into a 2-hour discussion about Tiger Woods. Anybody that can win a playoff in a U.S. Open with a torn ACL, you got my vote. This guy can play through pain. The back surgery that he had, if you've done any research on it, there's a lot of people that never recover from that. He came out and won a tour tournaments in his 40s after that back surgery, including this very tournament in 2019. As I've walked this golf course, Doug, been down there twice. The average person doesn't realize how hilly it is. This is an up and down hilly course. Justin Thomas described it as one of the most brutal walks on tour. And a lot of these, since they Tiger proof this course, just ironically, we're talking about Tiger, a lot of the walks from the green to the tee box are 60 or 70 or 80 yards versus where they used to be back, say, the 60s and 70s and 80s, when Nicklaus's and all them were dominating this thing. I find it hard to believe that you can walk 4 18-hole rounds on this thing and be at the top of your game no matter how good your swing is. So I guess my question to you, you can give me your comments on what you think about Tiger coming back this week, but the odds to miss or make the cut are right around 115 to miss or make. So it's a reasonable money line number, Doug, to wager here. Tiger's game. What do you think about his ability to make the cut here?
Given the opportunity or given the choice between a top 30 and a miscut, I'm going to take the miscut, Tony. I read something today, and it talked about that. It was talking about Ben Hogan, who had a car accident. For those who don't know who Ben Hogan's one of the all-time great golfers, and has a bridge named after him at Augusta.
I want to interrupt you for 1 second. Yep. If you don't know who Ben Hogan is, you can turn off the video and go watch surf something else. Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, good point. But what happened? So he had a horrific car accident, and he came back and he won on tour again. But one of the major differences is that he was 36 when that happened. He's not 45. So what Tiger has accomplished to even be able, in my opinion, to get off and play a practice round like he did on Monday, I think is remarkable. To be able to do that for 4 days, just to make the cut and to play 4 days, I don't care what his score is. I think that's a win, and it's a win for golf that if he can do that. But to be a contender, to be anywhere near anything, I would just, and he hasn't played competitive golf in a long time now, we're talking about.
Right.
I just don't see how that can happen. Maybe it can. I mean, and if anybody can do it, it's Tiger Woods. We know that. But still, I think it's a big ask just across the board. So yes, I'd rather play for him to miss, or rather bet to miss the cut, and give it his all, than to think that he's going to play all 4 days and be even a factor, if from that standpoint.
Yeah, I will just close out a couple of things here, and then ask you a couple of things, and we'll let everybody get on their way here. The one thing about playing, if any of you watching this love to watch golf and are an avid golfer like Doug and I are, a little bit of both, you know how hard it is to play a course where there's not a flat spot anywhere except on the tee box. The only flat place on this course is on the tee box. 18 tee boxes are flat. You have the ball either below your feet or above your feet on every single shot. And I mean, that's putting it smack dab in the middle of the fairway. And that's going to be hard. That puts a lot of pressure on your lower legs and your body when you're driving to golf. And to have to do that for, take the putts out of it, 58 shots around, and plus walk this thing, with the type of injury that he had, I don't see him making the cut. I'm glad he's there. I'm glad they had thousands of people following him around in the practice round with Freddie Couples. And we have something to focus on besides Phil Mickelson news. We have good news with Tiger Woods. The Tiger Woods, whether you love him or hate him, every golfer on tour loves this guy because they're playing for $1 million+ paycheck every week because of him. And that's what he's done for golf. And but I don't think I'd lay the 115 and say miscut.
Yep.
One couple of picks I will give you. I am going with the Cameron Smith top 10 for a free pick for this tournament. I think he's going to make the cut. He hasn't played in a tournament since the Players, but he's been gearing up for this and got up here and played some rounds. He's done well. Like I said, top 10 last year. Before that, he was second. These are the last 2 years, and I think he's playing better right now than he was in the previous 24 months. Obviously, if you win the Players' Championship, as you know, Doug, besides the Green Jacket, that may be the most coveted title on tour. They all want to win that. That's their championship, and plus the $3 million payday doesn't hurt either. So that being said, one other player I saw on a futures bet here that I'll give you that I did wager this morning. I wagered a Kevin Kistner minus 145 to make the cut. He's got the game for this course, Doug. I think he's and could even in fact factor in on the weekend on the couple top pages of the leaderboard. This is a guy that went down to the wire, in the world match play. He's just good at match play because of his makeup as a player, but he's got the game built for this course, and he might do something special here this week, I think. But I definitely think he'll make the cut at minus 140, 145.
Yeah, Kistner, he's not on my radar, but I know exactly what you mean in terms of how he's played, to this point, and having the right type of game in order to succeed here. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. One guy to me that's a little bit under the radar here, at least in terms of buzz, and now his odds are good. Brooks Koepka. I mean, this guy always comes to play on major event. Doesn't always win, doesn't always have great success, but he always comes to play. And I just think that he is just primed for a really good showing this week. So I'm definitely going to be looking at him for a number of different wagers coming into it. And I'm also looking at it for some head-to-head action also. So he's definitely on my radar. Another guy that I like that is he's not inside, I should say he's not an outside or necessarily a long shot, but Will Zalatoris. I think his length is exceptional. His distance is great. And when, like any of these guys, when he gets it rolling, okay, he can make a lot of putts and he can string together a number of very good rounds together or get hot, over a succession of holes. So I like him. Guys that I will not be looking at, though, or I would definitely fade, is Matsuyama, the defending champion. Okay, back injuries. He has dropped out the last 2 tournaments. He said he's going to give it a go. When a guy said he's going to give it a go, that's not a good sign. Okay, so that to me, right. That's a problem there. The other guy I really don't like, even though he's got a good number, is Dustin Johnson. He's just not playing well, Tony. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Now, he's making progress, but I think he'll probably be more of a factor either if he continues to improve at the PGA in Tulsa in May, or maybe the U.S. Open, later this summer.
Right. I agree. Dustin just he's not in a couple of tournaments I watched him where he got in contention. He couldn't convert on par 5s and get birdies, which is just that's a red flag for him right there. And he's not putting well. Brooks Koepka, as you mentioned, played great in his first 5 Masters. He missed a cut last year, but remember, he was limping around on a really bad knee last year. Reason you want to pick him, he does hit a lot of greens and does well on par 5s. And of course, he's under the radar right now, Doug. He's under the radar here because he just hasn't fared well coming into this, but that's how he won his first 4 majors. He wasn't playing regular tournaments all that great, and he gets in the spotlight, he gets going, and he also can hit a lot of greens in regulation and get it on the right side of the green if he's got his irons working. And he definitely is pretty consistent off the tee box here. One other, I've just got to bring this up for craps and giggles, and we'll let everybody go. Will Bernhard Langer make or miss the cut this year? Because the guy is an ageless wonder. He comes in here every year. Hell, was it last year? The year before, he was competing on the leaderboard on the final day. We'd all like to see Freddie Boom Boom Couples make it. We'd like to see, but Bernhard Langer, for whatever reason, at age 64 or 65 now, is one of those guys that just is sticking around and can make things happen. And he's just got a lot of magic around this course. You think he makes another cut?
Boy, you would like to think he probably wouldn't, but you're right. I mean, he's just got something. Now, Tony, and you know this, any different friends of yours and friends of mine that belong to country clubs and stuff like that, he would be like the most hated guy at any country club. Okay.
Oh yeah.
At his age, and playing like that, I mean, everybody would hate this guy, and nobody would want to play with him either. So, but no. So to your point, I wouldn't think so, but if somebody want to take a flyer on it, and let's put it this way, if you're willing to take a flyer on Tiger Woods, okay, to be a contender, I don't see why you wouldn't want to take Bernhard Langer to make the cut. I mean, it seems like you might have more advantageous position there.
I think if given the choice in a wager, say it was a $250 free roll at some, book in town, entice you to sign up for their app, and I was given the choice between Tiger Woods making the cut or Bernhard Langer making the cut, I put my money on Bernhard Langer. Now, a soft course without a lot of roll off the box is going to hurt him because his length is gone. It's not what it was by a mile, but his game around the greens is still as good as anybody around. This guy can get it up and down. Anything inside of 165 yards. I've watched him play on the Champions Tour recently, as a couple weeks ago. Shot his age on a very tough golf course. When you're 64 and can shoot at 64, you're, in a PGA Tour event, you're no slouch. So I would take a look at him. Now, Doug, you're going to have your picks out over at DocSports.com. We got a free $60 for everybody. If you've never been a member of Docs, we'll park it in your account. You can use it anywhere on the website. Check out Doug, obviously, as if you haven't been watching the videos on this YouTube channel, has been coming to you live from spring games. You don't find that everywhere in this marketplace, folks. So be sure you can get yourself, get your arsenal loaded up with Doug's baseball. And, of course, your golf picks. Now, mine will be out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I do daily head-to-head moneyline picks. Doug, tell the folks what you're looking at for this tournament this week and when your picks are going to be up over at the website.
Yes. So my picks will be up on Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern is what time they'll be available. Right now, I'm looking at 5 plays. I might have 6, but I'm looking at 5, and I'm looking at some top 5s, top 10s, top 20s, and a couple of head-to-heads possibly. So I'm just trying to narrow it down, Tony. You know how that goes. You start doing that. You're not really, you're not going to have too many because you can go crazy, especially on these big tournaments like this, because you get a little bit too excited sometimes, and just need to calm it down a little bit. So I definitely will have that ready to go, coming off a winning week last week. And, you mentioned one thing to me, Tony, about horses for courses. For me, at least, horses for courses, I'm done with that for a while, because I would be having a winning season overall if it wasn't for those plays. For whatever reason, they just haven't worked out for me so far this year. So I'm going to just follow the numbers more so and let some of that sit for a little bit. Now, one thing though, I will say, I want people to know about Tony is with him doing the head-to-head in this tournament, and this is a key thing, especially for his pick, whatever his picks are going to be on Sunday, is that 17 of the 25 winners of the Masters, 17 of the last 25 Masters, have been in the top 5 in greens and regulation. Okay, 17 out of 25 in the top 5, and 8 of those won of those 17. So I know Tony's going to have a sharp eye coming off that Saturday to know what this is. So make sure that you check out his pick or picks for Sunday, because he's going to definitely have that in the back of his mind for his selections.
Oh, that's the number one handicap here. I want to know who's hitting. I want to know who's not losing shots to the field off the tee. And then I want those shots gained on approach. And I'll be looking for those. And I'm well aware of that stat, but I'm glad you brought it up for everybody. It's one of those weekends. The honey-do list is out the window. There's no garage getting cleaned out. There's no yard getting mowed. There's no things that the wife wants me to do. My rear end is on the couch watching the Masters, picking out on food that's not good for me, grilling some steaks on Sunday, and watching the bets come in. So for Doug Upstone, I'm Tony George. Get over to Docs, get yourself your fix, your whole tournament, all the bets for the whole tournament come out on Wednesday with Doug. I'll be there day to day for you. Be sure and get over to Docs and get yourself some winners this weekend in the Masters Golf Tournament.